We get to learn Torah Hashem Tanima together. We get to learn God's holy words together. We're speaking about how a Jew wakes up in the morning. And the first thing we said is that we have gratitude. An attitude of gratitude. To wake up with an attitude of gratitude. And before there was ever a me, there's gratitude. The gratitude then comes into the context of an I. And then we said the gratitude comes into the context of a I now in the presence of God. And the God that we begin with is the King, which means responsibility. And the King that we're talking about is Chai v'Kayim. He's alive, relevant, and Kayim forever, which means nothing's going out of style. It's alive, and it's also not young energy. It's old, but it's young at the same time. And then we began to talk about what happens when our soul goes up to heaven. We spoke about sleep a little bit. And we said that when you go up there during the night, the only part of your soul that's down here is the most basic animation of your body. Just your parasympathetic nervous system.
I think it's actually autonomic.
Autonomic.
Yeah.
The autonomic nervous system. The one that basically, I don't need to tell myself to beat my heart. Autonomic. It's on automatic.
Yeah.
So the anatomic nervous system. Autonomic, thank you. It's been a while since college biology. Bennett's doing a quick check on this one. Fact check that one.
Yes, autonomic nervous system.
Autonomic nervous system. So that's, the nefesh is very linked into your autonomic nervous system. You don't need to tell yourself, like, everyone had lunch today? Did you have to sit down and like really make sure to meditate on your digestion working? Baruch Hashem, thank God. Like, I really hope this stuff, like it's just like the peristalsis kicks into high gear here. It does when all systems are working and when the nefesh is healthy. God forbid, if the nefesh is not healthy, then the peristalsis does not work. That's a sign that even the lowest part of one's soul is dislodging, God forbid, from the body. And even the body is stopping to work. Okay? Which is basically that's called death. Death is when even the lowest part of your soul dislodges. Okay? At that point, then the body has no more animation, and then that's it. That's why sleep is 1/60th of death, because the body starts going into a very kind of much less active state. And we explained how the higher levels of our soul go all the way up. And we didn't exactly talk about how to merit that. We did say if you really want to have good journeys at night, then one of the main things you have to think about is the following. Number one of the ways to make sure that you don't get caught up in there's some bad chevra up there, and some goons that would not be positive influences. One of the main things is to say the bedtime shema. Anybody heard of the bedtime shema? In your local Orthodox Artsco Siddur, to say the bedtime shema. The bedtime shema gives you powers to navigate some of the creatures that are up there and get to the desired destination. Another tip in order to have good nighttime experiences is don't eat so close to bed. Don't eat so close to bed. What else is relevant not eating so close to bed is what you eat before bed. The Derech Hashem discusses not eating overly fatty foods before bed, overly saucy foods, overly spicy foods, heavy foods. Basically, don't eat a shawarma in bed.
Do you eat shawarma while we're asleep? Sleep?
So that'd be a kol shekain. If you shouldn't have it before bed, certainly don't have somebody feed it to you while you're sleeping. That's called a kol shekain. Oh, the more so not while you're sleeping. Yes?
You said that bedtime shema for taking a nap?
Say again?
If you're taking like a nap in the middle of the day, you just still say the bedtime Shema?
You don't say the entire bedtime Shema, but there is a custom to just say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, Ve'ahavta, and Vayihi Noyam. A certain paragraph for protection. Very short. It could take you all of 20 seconds. At night, though, the nighttime is a more challenging time. The nighttime in Kabbalistic thought is a time of more danger. It's when the dark forces have more reign, and therefore a person is more susceptible and vulnerable at night. And therefore he has extra protection. Even on a rational level, people are a bit scared of the night. It's a bit, it's hard to see. It's a bit kind of, you don't feel safe. Day breaks and, I feel safe, I'm outside, I could see things. The nighttime, there's a danger. So spiritually, that's very much so. And specifically at night when you're sleeping, you're very vulnerable. So you want to use protection to allow the soul to navigate itself to the right destinations. Eating super heavy foods like that have a big problem, mess up a person's sleep, and mess up the kind of thoughts and things that he could do while he's sleeping. Because a lot of the time it's just, the Derech Hashem explains that if you don't digest your food properly before you go to bed, so it just becomes like gaseous. That's why sadly, if a person goes into a room of a bunch of people sleeping and they ate a lot before bed, it can be very gaseous. And so all of that is going up and creating fumes on the person's brain and his way of thinking. So that's now fogging up his dream state.
It's like fogging up their dreams? Really?
Anybody ever ate like a lot of candy before bed?
I usually eat before bed.
And then like you just don't you have bad dreams?
Sometimes.
People kind of know like I shouldn't have eaten all that stuff before bed. Like I didn't rest well. And a lot of people will tell you like I had weird dreams. So yeah. So whether you know your dreams or not, it messes stuff up. So be careful. Don't eat so much before bed.
It's also like, I've heard it's like just generally unhealthy to eat. Like,
It's very unhealthy. I'll tell you one of the reasons why. Yeah, one of the main reasons why is while your body sleeps, it wants to repair. You've had a long day. You've done 1,000,001 things. The body gets banged up. You want to go to bed so that the body can just heal itself. Well, do you know what's the most taxing activity that the body does? Digestion. It's very intense to take a solid piece of meat and turn that into a liquid. That's what digestion is. You need to extract out. Take a peanut butter sandwich. I got to extract out nutrients and turn this into blood, to liquid. It takes a lot of energy. Then what kind of juices are going on in your stomach? It's wild in there. So that's a very taxing thing to do. So now, the same time that your body needs to rest and recuperate and gain power, what is it distracted doing right now? Digesting all this food. So it doesn't allow space for your body to relax and recover. So don't eat before bed.
What would you say is like the time?
Generally about 2 hours is a good idea. But you could even spend more time. Your body naturally, as the evening comes on, is trying to get into a rhythm of like shutting down. A healthy power down. And that's important. You want to give yourself the ability to do that. It's to power down the system. So having certain bedtime routines are very, very important. That will allow that the body is now rested. The soul can now go unfettered and fly up to do great things. Yankel.
Are there certain things to learn, like before bed?
So I asked Ichimayer that. So he told me to learn Tanat Belial. Basically, the teachings of Elijah the prophet. Elijah the prophet has a book of teachings. Sounds like good stuff. I'm sure it would be coming from Elijah the prophet. And That's a good thing to learn before bed. His teachings. There's another element of how to go to bed, just on the topic. The Rambam says that the Gemara is explicit that you're not supposed to sleep on your stomach or your back. It's called prakton. Prakton means that I'm sleeping my stomach or my back, and it means that I'm putting pressure on the lower area. The lower area meaning that area that could warm up the lower area and chas v'sholom make a person have an accident at night. So the idea is that the Jew always sleeps on his side. On his side. So the question is, which side do you start on? So the Rambam says you start on your left side, and then you turn to your right side in the middle of the night.
Consciously?
So it's interesting. So the first question I heard when I first learned this was like, how do you do that? You're sleeping. So daven to God, and you'll see your body, you could train your body that now I go to bed on my left side and I just wake up on my right side. You could train your body to do this. The Rambam explains why. Why is it beneficial? The Rambam is the ultimate rationalist. Oh, so the Rambam says, when you go to bed on your left side, anybody know where your liver is? Your liver is right here. Boom. The right side, under the ribs. Liver is a very powerful organ, and it's hot. Anybody know where your stomach is?
Left.
Kind of the middle, but under the liver. So if I lie on my left side, is the liver going to be squished and just pressing right on my stomach? Yes. Lying on my left, my liver, which is on my right, is pushing and heating up my stomach. Why is that beneficial? Because any undigested food that's in my stomach, the liver, which is warm, is a hot organ, is going to heat up, liquefy any undigested residue that's in my stomach that I want to be digested. I don't want it to linger there and not have a good night's sleep because I'm busy digesting food. So I start the night on my left side. The liver's pushing down, warming up the stomach and digesting the rest of that food. But at the end of the night, I don't want to be digesting anymore. I want to be completely out of that zone. I want to be getting up and removing the waste. Anybody know where your large intestine is? Where it starts and where it goes? Starts at the bottom right, comes up. That's right, transverse. Somebody learned. And it comes down the left. That's right. And then it comes out this way. So if I now go to my right side, where is the waste coming out of? Gravitationally, it's coming from this angle out. It's perfect. So the Rambam is saying, you start on your left side, you warm up all the undigested food in the stomach. As everything is now just easily passing through the small intestine, the large intestine, the colon, at the second half of the night, you're just naturally pushing the waste out, and a person wakes up and they should ideally go to the bathroom right away. It's a health tip, says the Rambam, to be a healthy person. It's rational. The Torah is very rational. So these will also help you sleep better at night and allow the soul to go up and do what it needs to do at night. Okay? Any questions? Yes, my friend. Larry.
If during sleep, like your soul is going to heaven and there's this spiritual ascension, why do you wash in the morning?
So the answer is like this. We're going to get to this also. The reason why you wash is because what is tumah? Tumah means impurity. What is impurity in Jewish thought?
Lack of purity.
Blockages?
Impurity. What's tumah? Mazet tumah.
Blockage.
So a blockage, a timtum, a blockage. Tumah means when there's an absence of potential. There was potential, and then that potential is gone. A lack of potential. That's why a bunch of guys just playing shell. That's what they call like NHL. Just playing like shell. Just playing shell is just called tumah. It's just a bunch of lack of potential. Like, what are you doing with your life? It's what are you doing? There's an impurity in that. You know what else creates impurity? A dead body. Why? Because what's the potential of the body? The potential of the body is that there's a soul inside the body which is bringing the body towards godliness. towards mitzvahs. So now the soul has departed. So now there's just pure physicality there, without purpose. It's not going anywhere. That's called the ultimate level of impurity. It's the highest level of impurity. Avi Avai Satuma is a dead body. A woman, interesting, who gives birth becomes impure. Not the same level. Why? Because she had a child was growing in her. She lost that. Okay, the child is in the world, thank God, but it's not in her.
She has to wash hands after birth.
She becomes impure. When the soul, now we can answer the question later, when the soul goes up to heaven, what's the body left with?
Less of a soul.
The body is more of an empty vessel at that point. So compared to what you are when you're awake, what do you do when you're awake? I hope not lying in bed all day. When you're awake, you're running to shul. You're running to 6:30 Rabbi Nachman. You're running to Torah and mitzvahs. You're doing things. At night, that's why many of the tzaddikim try to sleep very little. Because at night, you're just not doing. So when a person wakes up, at that point, the body's been absent of all this ability to do stuff. As the soul is coming back in, though, the impurity starts leaving. But the Kabbalists teach us that it leaves through the fingertips and resides right on the tips. And therefore there's an impurity there. And therefore be careful to touch anything, any orifices, because there's a spiritual contamination there. So what's the classic thing? People wake up like, oh, like rubbing their eyes, like their ears, like touching their mouth or something. Be very careful. That's the opposite of what we do. Yeah.
So I just
Rabbi
want
Nachman.
to ask, because you're drawing the comparison, like obviously, like, I don't think there's anything wrong per se with somebody who's like, okay, like, had a busy day, I want to play some video games. But I definitely...
Shell was too personal, sorry.
I've definitely had points in my life where like I've been playing a video game and it's like time, you don't even like realize how like much time can just go by while you're doing it. And like it kind of got to a point for me where I was like, what am I doing with myself? So are you saying that like essentially like being a dead corpse and like that same feeling of like being just stimulated on really nothing other than this?
I want to use your line. What am I doing with my time? What am I doing with my life? The feeling of missed potential. Emptiness. Like, what did I just do? What did I just do?
You level up your character or whatever, and you can do more in the game, but like...
Everybody knows that you go to the movies or whatever, or you watch Netflix for like, 6 hours straight. And then like finally like the lights go on, in the theater, and you're just like, what did I do? Like while I was in it, it was very engaging. But afterwards, I just feel dirty. I feel like what did I accomplish? There was an empty space that I just kind of made where I hollowed out human potential from existing in. So I always have these moments like, this is actually an interesting thing. One of the real steps, I grew up in a world where people didn't have phones like this. So going onto airplanes, people got very excited because it was like you had your personal, movie screen right there. And they had the latest flicks. So one of the biggest signs that the guy's been in yeshiva and he's like really like into learning is when he gets back on the flight and all of a sudden he's like, there's just like a television screen staring him in the eye. It's like should I see what's on the screen? Should I not? And one of the signs that a person's like, I don't want this anymore is he actually doesn't watch the movie. Because if you just go to the other end of the plane, sometimes you have to use the bathroom and you're like walking back to your seat and you could see like, not the screen side, but everyone's faces. And everyone's just like this. And it's like this glow of darkness in their face. Sometimes you see that if you go on a bus, like these like bus rides, the long bus rides, like the 60-seater bus, and nowadays they have all these like, the tentacle things that come down, like the charger things. So it's all you see is just like a bunch of like, these like tentacle things coming down. You look from the front of the bus, everyone's just like this, on their screens. you just feel like, are you guys like here? Is anybody here? And do a survey of all those people and say, like, how many of you guys at the end of this ride really felt like you maximized your time? Like you really used this time wisely.
Or meditating.
Pardon?
Or meditation. Watching the TV.
So you ask them, say, did you really feel this was a deep spiritual meditation? Or I hollowed out a space where human potential was lost. I'm sure there's always going to be one or two guys that are doing something, meaningful. But the majority of people don't know how to. So I just used, it's called shell or chell? Chell. I just use chell as an example because guys tell me they play it. And for like many hours straight. As an example of, and they'll tell you like, I can't believe I just played that much video games. Just this example of hollowing out space of human potential, and that's called contamination. Because you could have done something, you could have been something, you could have done something so great. I'm not coming to say that if a person needs 15 minutes to just relax, that it might not be a good outlet for him. In fact, it might be a kosher outlet.
Like what?
I haven't seen the way that shell exists nowadays. They still punch people. I grew up in Toronto. Like hockey has fighting in it, and like people cheer when they draw blood. To me, that sounds like the Roman Colosseum. Like it sounds sick, if anything. And I was like, yeah. Like when that one like they throw the gloves down.
UFC,
I was just gonna say,
bare knuckle slap competition. Yeah.
I'm sure you guys give me a lot of examples of just how low humanity is sunk, and that we're like excited about that. So where has human potential gone? Human greatness.
Well,
So-
what are some kosher outlets? Because truthfully,
Music,
like playing music.
Playing music.
listening.
singing.
how about write your parents a note, a letter, how much you love them, singing, going to walk, talk to your friends, like actually talk to another human being. I know it sounds crazy. Like without your phones or anything, just talk to them, have a conversation, exercise a little bit.
How do you manage getting the sleep you need and also maximizing your time? Obviously, everybody's different, but like.
Everybody's different. You have to find out how much sleep do I need. One of the best ways is actually, I know this might sound crazy, go off all stimulants, coffee, chocolate, cacao, everything, tea, caffeine, and cigarettes, and actually for 2 weeks, kind of get that out of your body for a little bit, and actually see if I sleep for 6 hours, can I function the next day? If you can't, okay, tomorrow 6 hours and 5 minutes. If I can't, 6 hours and 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And try to actually get to a sweet zone. Your body, if it's a healthy body, can generally, healthy people, 6 hours, like for an adult, is a very good sweet spot for many people. Which means, me, so I wish I slept less. Around 6 hours. I wish I slept less because you can get so much more accomplished. But you have to figure it out for yourself. You can't be in a state where you're like passing out, falling down. But if somebody sleeps 9 hours and they don't need to get 3 more hours a day, I'll tell you another thing of contamination, then we're going to talk about tomorrow what happens to your soul when it does go up and then how God gives it back, is that one of the things I like to do with people is I tell them that I just want to check out their screen time. Usually I don't say, it's like, can I just see your phone for a second? It's like, no, where are you going? Settings? No. No, not the hourglass. I just want to check it out. It's okay. And they're like, no, but just about it. This week was not like it. It's usually, this week, it's really not usually like this. And then I go back a few weeks and it's like, it is like that. And usually I'll just show people. Let's say there's like, I'm giving a low number, 5 hour a day. I'm telling you, it's a low number. You'd be surprised. Take a look at your screen times. I know.
Zero. It's horrible.
It's like probably the app's broken. So, okay, so 5 hours a day, which means 35 hours a week. If you were to tell me, Moshe Chaim, I will give you an extra day and a half a week of being alive. He's like, oh. I know, down 30%, only at 8 hours a day.
I'm at 6, which is horrifying.
Okay, think about that. 42 hours a week, that's almost 2 days of the week. 2 whole days of a week.
My life.
Okay?
Learning.
So then you go into the specifics. Like how much was actually learning, how much was TikTok, what actually was happening during that time. And that's called, if it's a lack of human potential, that's called contamination. If it's actually, you could show me that I was actually using this to do productive, godly things, that's another story. We should be Zarech and Mamish to really actualize human potential with Misuse. Amen. Have a wonderful day, my friends. Call to.